Hi, everybody. It's September. It's time for the animals message for the month, and they're really moving us forward. If you remember, the theme for the entire year has been faith, and we've moved through faith in January, be in February, accept in March, intolerance in April, stillness in May, curiosity in June, with in July, and we're just moving from pause, which was August. So this month or this month's message builds on all of that with trust. And it's no surprise, right? Because the title of my newsletter, of my blog here on Substack, is Trust the Animals. And this is where they continually invite us. This is continually where they're asking us to be. And so in September, we're going to really work on trust. And what's really interesting is leading up to these messages really kind of being formulated and really kind of setting. I've had multiple readings where trust has been coming up, not only just between animals and their people, but also the guides and the people that they're actually working with too, as well as myself, right? I mean, Lucas's biggest lesson that has been for me since he's been with us since 2017, I lose track of time, has been trust and trusting myself. And so here we are in September 2025, and we have another opportunity to dive into trust. What's also really cool is in working with the animals, they're really, of course, they have the pulse on where we are. And when we think about, I mean, I have my own personal grief, right? The loss of my dad a year ago in August. We've got a larger collective grief that we've never really, particularly as a European-based Western culture, we've never really dealt with. We've got loneliness, we've got separation. And so trust comes forward as an invitation from them, as almost a balm and a guide for moving through this grief, loneliness, and separations. And the animals are actually asking, why don't you trust us? And why, actually, even more importantly, is why don't you trust yourself? And so that's where this whole message is leading us, this work that we're doing with them all through the month of September. So if you think about the root of distrust, distrust grows out of the illusion that we're separated from all that is. If you think about the human species in terms of this superior species, or that we dominate the planet, and look where that's gotten us, not very far. We we're a bit lost if you think of us in this terms. We feel like we're separate from the animals. We feel like we're separate from the divine, and we're separate from nature. And we even feel like we're separate from one another. I was just listening to, my favorite podcast is Pulling the Thread, and she had Francis Weller on, and he was talking with her about this separation from each other, particularly in times of grief, or that we feel we have to put ourselves over one another. There's competition and things like that. And that's creating this sense, this is disillusionment, but it's also creating this separateness and this feeling of distrust. With all of that separateness also comes a fear of death. And if you look back at some of the episodes that we've done, particularly this season of the Animal Communication Podcast, Monique Brignoni comes to mind. We just had Dr. Jennifer Freed. We've had Victoria Loers on the show. We've got some really cool guests coming up, but a lot of people are talking about this fear of death, which becomes a fear of change. So if you think about terms of distrust and being separate, of course, we get terrified when a very natural process is happening to ourselves. And that's also why the passing of our pets also activates us and creates this portal, a place for us to walk in and go, oh, wow, things have changed. But we get really nervous about that, and we kind of hold back and separate ourselves from that. So even keep that in mind as you're working, particularly if your animal is beginning its transition to the next chapter, is what they tell me. That fear of their passing, their fear of change in our lifestyle, their fear of not being there, that also becomes an opportunity. We want to control this. We want to control how they feel. We want to fix it, right? We have a very fix it healthcare system. So how can we understand that that's what's going on and realize it's an invitation for trust? Um, so remember too that, throughout all of this, the animals are going to mirror reactivity when we're reactive to something, when we're feeling fearful, when we're feeling separate, they're going to do things to activate that in an effort to go, oh, wait a minute. Where am I not trusting myself? Where am I not trusting the process? Where am I not trusting this larger process that's at play? Where am I not trusting my neighbors, my community, all of that? These are all huge opportunities, areas, gaps, if you will, that we can step into and go, I see it. I see you doing that. So just remember that trust is remembering. If I borrow something from Victoria Laura, she talked about remember, and it has a hyphen between the re and the member because it's a bringing back together, but remembering that connection. So bringing back that connection. We're not separate. We don't survive on this planet without the bees. We don't survive on this planet without trees and mycelium network and everything. So think about every time you have an opportunity, how are you in any given moment connected to all that is? Like right now, I'm looking out of my window. There's a little cherry tree and there's been a hummingbird outside all morning. And just, wow, look at that. Oh my goodness, look at that. And how even in that small connection, that brings me joy. And in that joy, I can find some trust. So our behavior is not separate from the animal's behavior. Their trust reflects ours. So just the mere fact that they feel like they can come this close to the window or the hummingbird can hang out right there, that's trust, right? So that's reflecting what's available to me and vice versa. Trust also means surrender. It means recognizing that everything is interconnected and we're not the ultimate deciders. I mean, that's a really strong message of surrender, to realize, oh, there's something else afoot here. There's something bigger than me at play here. How can I lean into that? And how can I trust? The animals do that all the time. I think of the moment when Lucas broke my leg in 2019, and I did not feel any pain as I was crumbling to the ground. But I remember I didn't feel any pain. And I remember also thinking, oh my gosh, he did that for a reason. There's a bigger reason here. Come to find out, there's a whole lot of trust in that. Like being able to even trust my leg again was a whole other thing. But also, too, right in that change that I experienced, there was also a letting go of who I was prior and who I would be with the new built leg. It's kind of bionic, it's got metal in it, but there's also grief in that too, because I changed. So anytime there's change, there's grief. So in that grief, that trust invites us to soften into it rather than resisting it. I think too of when my dad passed away unexpectedly and all the changes. I mean, so many, they're still happening because I'm still dealing with different things with my mom and whatnot. And I find that whenever I'm really having a hard time, there's absolutely sadness, grief, um, just trying to adjust, right? Because it takes us a bit to adjust. But anytime that also comes up, I am also kind of leaning into it a little bit. Where am I resisting? How can I let go? How is this an invitation to trust that everything's going to be okay? That if I let go here, we're going to be fine. It's going to be new. I don't know what it looks like, but I have to trust that. So the animals can teach us to trust. They're not just, abstract symbols or a thing, right, that we take care of. Everybody that's here, we know our animals are not things, right? They're emotional beings, and we're bonded to them through a deep, it's often unspoken emotional connection that rests in unconditional love. And because of that love, they know how to activate us. And they do so in a way that allows us to feel safe enough to unearth our true selves piece by piece. Because we love them so much, because we know they love us, it's one of the many gateways for us to feel like we can learn who we truly are. And they reflect that at us, and we realize, oh, I see what you're doing. And I feel safe to do that with you. I mean, who else, right? For me, it's been the animals, but there's lots of different avenues for us to do this. What's really cool is that I recently had a reading with M, is the client, and her dogs, Chuck and Jovi, were doing the same lesson to some degree, but on both sides. So Chuck was mirroring back to Em her own distrust of him. She loves him very much. Please don't get us wrong. But there was some distrust based on some previous behavior that he had exhibited. That, of course, was also another lesson. But he was mirroring how she didn't necessarily trust him by doing things that would like enhance to some degree that distrust. And it showed her where she was really not trusting herself in how to work with him, how to listen to him, how to be with him. So that was really coming up for her. On the other hand, she got a brand new puppy, super, super cute, whose name is Jovi. And on the, on the other hand, Jovi, who's just like ray of sunshine, was showing her how to begin to trust herself again. So both animals actually working together. So when I connected with them both, they were actually an arm to arm. However, they didn't necessarily want to be introduced until Em could figure out, oh, wait, here's where I'm not trusting. So she could get to a more solid ground to be able then to trust herself to do the work she needed to do with Chuck, so that then Chuck felt, okay, we've got this. All right, let's bring in Jovi. And it's actually was really cool. And I thank her very much for allowing me to share her story with all of you too. I did ask for permission. So thank you very much, Em. But this is how the animals guide us. They mirror our patterns and with love, invite us to trust both them and ourselves, just like I did with Lucas. I had people asking me if I was going to give him up. I'm like, why would I do that? He just broke my leg to help me move forward in trusting myself on a variety of ways. He was telling me to trust myself. I mean, he's taught me some of the best things best things that I've learned on the planet. So why would I not lean into that more? I trust him, and I've learned to trust him even more. So again, trust for September. So for practices for this month, it's not one giant leap. It's small acts woven into everyday life. And if you have more than one animal like Em does, think about how they may be coming at it from different perspectives. But the practices might include trusting your breath to carry you in the moment. Like if you're sitting there frantically working on your phone and your animal goes like, no, we need to do this. Trust that they are helping you go, oh, wait, let me take that breath. And then let me go into the next moment, because maybe you were furiously trying to get something done before you had to move somewhere else. So you were entering the next thing scattered. So how can you trust that breath? How can you trust your grief, particularly over the loss of an animal, the loss of a parent, as a doorway into deeper love? That's a whole other story, but there is a whole area that grief allows us to, in our shatteredness and new shape, step into something new, allow something new to come into. It's really hard, but trust can help us get there. And how can we trust our animal when they mirror back the truth to us? Whether it feels tender, it feels uncomfortable, that's actually the area to go. When it's easy peasy and nice, we don't necessarily learn a ton, but when we dive into that deeper, sometimes darker areas, that's where we can really learn about ourselves from a place of trust and about trusting ourselves with our animal's help. So each act of trust reconnects us to the web of life and begins healing the loneliness of separation. So I invite every single person to try this month with their animal. Even if your animal's in spirit, you can absolutely connect with them and ask them, how will you help me build trust? Will you help me build trust? They'll say yes. But how can they? What are they showing for you? It may be through signs that they leave you that, oh, see, I'm still here. Oh, see, you can trust that I'm still here. You can trust that we're still working together. The opportunities are limitless. So here's your invitation. The animal's invitation for September in trust is so simple and it's so profound. Trust who you are and allow them to help you even discover that. Trust the emotional bond of unconditional love that you already share with them. It is a safe place. They love you, and they actually don't go very far when they cross the rainbow bridge. 9 times out of 10, they're right here, or they're around you like a blanket, and they move around. But trust that that bond isn't going away, and you already share it with them. And trust, too, that with their guidance, you can safely excavate your authentic self. Trust indeed is the bridge between grief and transformation, between separation and reunion. So, how this month will you work with trusting yourself and allow your animal to be your coach? I can't wait to hear the stories. Please do keep me posted throughout the month. We'll have additional support, more Bach flower essences this month, and some other things too. We'll put them all together for you. But please keep us posted and allow your animals to show you how to trust yourself. Have a really good month of September, and I'll see you soon. Take really good care.